Hopefully I'm back. Um,
Okay, got
this
it.
is Amy Hahn, and we're here with Gardening Tips Live. I'm a Knox County Master Gardener, and I'm joined by my friends and fellow Master Gardeners, Toby Johnson and Brian Townsend. And we will get this pinned to where it needs to be as soon as we can. Let me find where I can share this. Let's see, it's not there.
I
I'm
know.
here.
Yeah, it takes a minute, doesn't it?
Every time
Okay.
we do that, we're connecting two different platforms, and sometimes the buttons move around, and sometimes we just forget where those buttons are.
Yes, and I'm on a different computer today, so things are looking different than I'm used to.
Yeah.
And here we go. I'm going to share. Come on, where is the place where I can share? It's at the bottom here. Share to a group and to Knoxville area gardening tips. And I'm going to put, please click, click into the video to comment and see resources we post. Okay. And what I should do is on the ones that it has, um, what is it? YouTube has changed. No, this is Facebook. Facebook has changed the way they're handling live videos. And so we have to do things a little bit differently. Let's see, to make sure they're available to you all. And so um, what I should do is go back into the video and post the link to the YouTube video. We are starting to upload these onto YouTube, and that seems to be working. And so I like things that work.
Yay.
Um, yeah.
Uh,
So it is a beautiful morning here. The birds are out doing their thing, and everything's green from all the rain. So just, it is beautiful. The weather is nice. It's only supposed to get up into the mid 70s here. Brian's joining us from, are you at
yes, ma'am.
the Habitat store,
Earth Day at Restore. Yes,
Earth Day at the Restore on,
right.
I can't remember, downtown West Boulevard.
Yes. I
So
think
that
it's
is where it is.
5110. I think it's 5110 downtown West Boulevard. I
Okay,
think.
it's in that shopping center
Right.
at the south end of it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And so are there a lot of folks there right now?
We having people bring stuff in right now, and I don't know. Vendors are just setting up. This is technically not supposed to start until 10.
Oh, okay. So you got there early so you could join us.
Yes.
And then Toby is joining us from
Washington State.
Washington
Or is
State
it,
right
what's
now.
that? Washington County.
Washington State,
Washington State.
Kitsap County.
Yeah. So what is it? She's dividing her time between Knoxville and there and working on developing some really interesting stuff at her place there and some really interesting stuff at her place here. So,
Yeah.
really
Miss
nice.
Miss Toby, you're not still nighttime yet, are you?
No, this is really early. It is 6 a.m.
Right,
Oh gosh,
exactly.
that's early.
Yeah, I got up at 5:30.
Egg. I
I'm
don't
on
think I want to be
Pacific
up that
time.
early.
So my where I'm at is by Hood Canal, and if you
Mm-hmm.
look out my back window, you can see the Olympic Mountains pointing, kind of poking through our green conifers.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if I understand right, you just got there, so your body clock isn't adjusted yet. So you're still on Knoxville time.
I think, I don't know. I've been here since Tuesday.
Okay. Oh,
So
you're
I
probably
think I'm
pretty
getting
switched
there.
over by now.
Yeah.
Okay. I just did an at everyone so folks can find us more easily as they have asked us to do. Um, so what is it? I guess it's time to start my slideshow. I've been really glad that the weather's cooled down a bit because I've got a couple things going and I've got to find my share screen button because in this mode it is hiding. I got to open this up as a whole window and go share and that, and now we're in business. Okay, so this is one of the reasons I'm sort of glad it's cooled off because if the weather is really hot, the irises do not last. I mean, if the what, yeah. So it's cooled off, and so my irises are lasting longer. When it's hot, they only last like a day, and then they're gone. So you can see I've got quite a few different iris, and they're actually blooming really good this year. Also, if you've been following us, I planted these are mammoth sugar peas that I planted really late. And so they were not doing well when were having temperatures getting up in the 80s, and now they're doing really nicely. So I might actually get to taste some. I do have a couple other varieties that I usually plant. Um, as far as the edible pod pea is my favorite, I have a couple favorites for different reasons. For many years, I've planted Oregon Giant, which do really large pods that are still sweet. The peas inside are still sweet when you let them size up a little bit. So you get a lot of food for your growing space. And then the other one I really like is Magnolia Sugar Pea, Sugar Tendril Pea, which is a climber, and they have beautiful bicolored pink and almost purple flowers and purple pods. And so they're really pretty. They're good too. They're more of a snap pea. The other ones are more of a snow pea. So this is what is it? Mammoth sugar melting pea, and I have never had them, so I want to see what they're like. So
So
hopefully I'll
Amy,
get at least. Yeah.
share with folks what the yogurt containers are all about.
Oh yeah, the yogurt containers there are actually to protect them from rabbits when they first sprout, and also it protects them from birds that, see that nice little seed leaf coming up. Um, and the bottoms are cut out of them. So those are just like little circle guards around them. So the peas are actually planted into the ground. And that's the way I do my cucumbers also. I'll plant them outside, but I use these little guards to protect them
So do
because
you leave them there the whole season, or at some point do you take them off?
at this point I could take them off, because they're getting to where they're about to attach to the trellis I've got here. So if I miss it and leave them, it's not a big problem, but I do try to take them off when they get to where they're about to latch onto the trellis.
Do the rabbits stop attacking it at that point?
Yeah, they're not really interested in it when the leaves are that mature.
Okay,
They're
got
just
it.
interested in those little seedling leaves, those
Yeah.
little first couple leaves. Because the other thing that happens, and you can't see it here, and it might not be happening here. Sometimes there's like some weed seed down in there, in the ground, and
Mhm.
weeds will come up like in the container,
Yeah,
in the guard, and it's really hard to weed them out if
yeah,
that's still there.
yeah.
So I do prefer to take it off.
I've got rabbits. There was a little rabbit den in
Hmm.
one of my raised beds this year, and I saw a little, teenage bunny come out, and then the next day it looks like a cat got in or a predator. But one thing they were doing was, I have the cool season green manure or cover crop, and part
Hmm.
of it's clover, and they just like went through and got the clover. And I'm leaving it in because I'm not going to be there this summer. So I'm leaving that cover crop in there. So I thought it was really funny how they were like picking and choosing from the mix of, vetch and clover and everything, that they could find the nibbles that they liked.
Yeah, I think one of the things that happens in my yard is I have a very diverse lawn, and we
Uh-huh.
do have it mowed about once a week during the season, so that means there's always new growth coming. And
Yeah.
I know we have clover and we have some other things that rabbits like to eat in there. And I
Yeah.
think that actually sort of protects the plants I want from damage because
Yeah.
they have
I think
so
they were
much.
going I think there's some peas, there's some kind of legume in that mix too. And I think they were going for
Hmm.
that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they love that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, which direction am I going? Okay. I thought this was just pretty. This is a spice bush, and it's just getting ready to bloom. The flower buds will be white when they're fully open, with just a
Mm-hmm.
little tinge of pink. And it's just a nice color. And the foliage does stay sort of a burgundy color all the
Mm-hmm.
time. That's this particular variety, and I don't remember what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a really nice, it is a native plant. I don't know how much the selection for this color impacts its wildlife, its value, as they call it ecosystem services that a plant provides. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are related to, um, what it gives the pollinators and the beneficial insects and the birds and all of that in the landscape. And so sometimes changing color will impact how well it does the ecosystem services. So you do have to look at that. And sometimes changing flower shape. I don't think this one they changed the flower. They selected for a different flower type, but I think it's definitely not the native leaf color. Okay, looks like it's going to be a really good blueberry year. Excuse me. Um, they really have set heavily, and I doubt at this point we're going to have any weather that's going to impact those. Um, though this is interesting. So this blueberry plant is at the very edge of my blueberry bed, which the pH was too high, and I've been adding sulfur through the years to bring it up. And it looks like I didn't do a good job of adding sulfur around this blueberry. You can see how yellow it looks. That is not what the leaves are supposed to look like compared to this other one. These are both rabbit eyes. And so they should have similar leaf color. And this one just isn't leafing out well. And so I think this year I need to give it some attention. Back. The other thing I could do that would probably really benefit the plant is what it prune it well, because this one has not been pruned in several years. And there are instructions, there are a couple different videos on pruning blueberries at the Knox County Master Gardener YouTube channel in their Prune Like a Pro series. And they give a lot of information. I need to prune some of the old wood out of this. And I also need to treat it with sulfur, which is going to sulfur takes months to work on changing the pH. I also will probably give it a layer of my homemade compost. It's not going to be very rich in nutrients, but it'll just give it a mild fertilization and hopefully help it along for next year. And did I say the others that I could also pull off all the fruit it's trying to make this year, which I'll look at it and I'll consider doing that because my other bushes have so much fruit. I'm also thinking about how am I going to protect my blueberries so I get to eat them, um, because I have a lot of birds that really love blueberries, and there have definitely been years where I've had good fruit, but I didn't get to eat any of it. So that's the things that are happening with that. Okay. This is another spring, well, it's another plant. It's actually a quite large plant. It's,
Hey, can
yeah,
we go back to blueberries for just a minute?
yes,
So
certainly.
what are you going to do to protect your blueberries?
Um, I think I might wrap them in floating row cover when I start to see some berries ripening. And
Okay.
that's pretty easy to lift off. I've tried netting and it gets so tangled in the,
Mm-hmm.
the bracts of berries that you end up knocking berries off.
Mm-hmm.
And and also I think the floating row cover will be more of a deterrent to birds getting in there.
Mm-hmm.
We went on vacation one year and I had netting on my blueberries and I came back and there was a mockingbird that had gotten caught in there and
Mm.
had not made it. And I don't want to do that.
Right. Right.
So I'm thinking the row cover is going to be more of a visual, um,
Yeah.
visual thing for the birds.
And it's permeable, but small, it's a smaller weave than
Right. And
netting.
they're not going to get their, talons, their claws caught in it and,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Or
Yeah,
not likely to.
I'm
All right.
asking because we've got three or two blueberry bushes up front here that produce and they're about waist height and
Hmm.
the deer just come in and it's gone. So
Yeah.
I don't think I think they need the soil around hasn't been amended for years and years and I don't think they produce
Hmm.
very well right now. So I've got to you know, work it back in. But yeah, if there
Yeah.
is anything that comes up, I want to make sure that I am able to at least eat a little bit of it.
Right. Yeah. So there's always that dilemma, how much, if I had a big blueberry patch, it wouldn't matter. But
Yeah.
I think I have four plants that produce.
Mm-hmm.
And, over the course, and they don't all ripen at the same exact time. And so over the course of them ripening, I can end up with almost no berries to harvest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Miss Amy,
So, yes.
when you use those floating road covers, do you leave the ends open or closed?
What I would do is wrap it around and then just sort of loosely gather it at the bottom around the trunk or the base of the blueberry.
Okay, so it's not a run of them, rather, but the individual bushes.
Right. I would just be wrapping the individual bushes.
Right.
That is what I'm thinking about doing currently. Some people actually make some, like a house of netting around their blueberries, and that works too. But I don't think I'm that ambitious this year. Okay. This is another plant that is useful in the spring, and some people use it more into the year. It is a native plant called cutleaf coneflower, also called green-headed coneflower and sochan. And it's a plant that the Cherokees used as one of their main greens crops. And I tried it last year, and it was really tasty. Um, so this is just its spring growth, and I'm going to harvest probably quite a bit of this next week and use it in the kitchen. Um, but it does grow quite tall, and it readily self-seeds. So if you are a person that needs to have control in your garden space, this might not be the plant for you. Um, if you like serendipity and are skilled at using your hoe and shovel to control plants, edit them where you don't want them, um, and enjoy this kind of thing, because not everyone, I'm very aimed at trying to grow things that are edible or give a lot of wildlife services, ecosystem services. So that's my aim in things I plant at this point in life. Um, and so this plant gives a lot of ecosystem services, and it is a food crop. So, that is my personal focus. Your focus might be different.
Miss Amy,
Yes.
On these plants that you're talking about, are they affected by the flavor of the leaves? Right, they're affected by the flowering.
Um, I would say I have really only eaten the spring leaves, and that's what folks say are the good, really good
Yeah,
leaves. Um, the flavor gets stronger as it gets older, and they
yeah,
are in the aster family. And a lot of cultures do have certain asters that they eat. Um, and there's a particular flavor that asters have, and it's pretty mild in these in the early spring, but it does get stronger as the season goes by, and some people like it. So some people they are edible through the year, and some people like it. This is
yeah.
from what I've heard, not my personal experience. So some people like it, as the leaves mature more, and some people don't.
Right.
So it's very personal as far as
Yeah.
what your preference is.
Right. I you know that herbs, many herbs,
Hmm.
when they go to flower,
Right.
the flavor changes in the leaves right there. That was
Hmm.
my curiosity.
Yeah, and I would say it probably does with these two. They don't flower until fall,
Right. Okay. Okay.
but what I understand is the flavor gets stronger. I only had about two plants last year, so I didn't harvest very many leaves. I
Right.
have more this year because it has seeded itself, and then the original plant is still alive. It is a perennial. And so the other thing is once you learn this plant, you will see it in the Smoky Mountains. It is there, and it is one of the plants that the the native, the indigenous folks in that area have actually been given permission to harvest in the Smokies,
Okay.
which you are not supposed to, without special permissions, you're not supposed to take any plant materials out of the Smoky Mountains National Park.
Hmm.
But the indigenous peoples do have special permission to harvest Sochan and I think some other native food crops that are still growing in the Smokies.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting one to grow because it's got so much of a story behind it.
Hmm.
Okay, this is another plant that this is not one that I want. Excuse me.
Oh.
Uh, this is bindweed, and you can
Okay.
see the little bindweed seedlings. And I have pulled them up a couple different times. Bindweed is in the morning glory family, and it is a perennial. And so the roots live for years. And I don't know if you recognize this bed where it's in, but this is my asparagus bed. And so I have had bindweed invade my asparagus bed. And last year I wasn't able to get out and pull out every sprout that came up as it started to come up. And if I do that for a couple years, the bindweed will probably die, but it will likely take that much work. And with asparagus, you really can't dig it up and dig out the bindweed. The roots on bindweed are just a really almost pure white. But so if I did dig it, it would be pretty easy to tell. But the asparagus has been in there probably for close to 10 years now. So it would be really starting a new bed. And so I have some decisions to make there. This is the seed leaves of regular morning glory. I do have Grandpa Ott's growing, which is an annual morning glory. It dies to the ground completely in the winter and then comes up from seed. And most of the time, most of it I get at this stage where it's just the seed leaves and a really thin root, and it's real easy to get out. I do like it, so I do let some of it grow. Oh, and it might look sad, but it's actually a Tabasco pepper plant, and I think this is its third spring. So this one's about 3 years old. Got aphids really bad in my yard care garage, under lights, but it survived, and I've just put it outside. If we do have temperatures under 50, I will bring it back inside for the overnight. because that'll damage it. But it's starting to recover, and what is it, just being outside for about 2 days, I'm not seeing any aphids on it anymore because the native beneficial insects have taken care of that. And so we're looking at, and I will probably wire it. The trunk is a little over an inch in diameter at this point. And so this would be, you could consider this a bonsai pepper plant at this point. I mean, at least when I shape it, and I might reduce the container size to make it look, heck, didn't want to do that, to make it look more like a bonsai tree. So I could carefully take wire and shape the form of it. And so that's an interesting thing. It's a pretty quick bonsai tree. And peppers are perennial plants and will live for years if you protect them, if you bring them in the winter and give them good lighting and just take care of them. They don't do great, but they survive. Also wanted to say it's not too late to start peppers and tomato plants. We do have a very long season. So these are my pepper plants that I started a couple weeks ago. They are still under lights. And then this is my basils and tomatoes that I started last week. You can see there's more than one plant in a container. This is what's called mass sowing. So I'll sow between 5 and 10 seedlings in one of these 2-inch pots. And then once they start to get their first true leaves, I will carefully take the whole each group out of each pot. I will carefully turn it out and separate those, and then each one will get its own 2-inch container. My aim is to have, I try to plant my tomato plants at between 4 and 6 weeks old. So they will be ready to go in by the end of May. And so it's not my ideal. I would like to have them, a couple weeks earlier than that. But we still have plenty of time to get a good tomato crop doing that. And I think that's my last slide. Yes, it is. Okay, let me stop sharing. And what is it? It's a good day. We've been getting a lot of questions about, starting seed and, people, what is it? What should I plant now? And those kind of questions. And let me get my screen so that I can see some other stuff. And if anyone's out there and has any questions, be sure to ask them. I'm going to go and check I'm going to check in the gardening tips group and make sure we don't have any questions in there. Nope, it looks like we don't right now. There are also a couple different events going on today that you could go to. There is the plant sale at the Bloom Center, which is behind First Beard. What I think they call it First. What is it? Bearden Church, First Bearden Church, in the Bearden area, and the Bloom Center is actually behind the church. Oh, the Fruit and Veggie calendar. There's Brian. What is he trying to say? He's muted. I don't know what Brian's trying to say.
Good morning, and you were bringing up what to do with seeds and stuff like that right there. And
Yes.
what I love to do is share these with people where they just look at it, or if they would make a donation to help us.
Yeah.
But I use this as one of my main references right here.
So what does it say for today?
Today?
because I'm not at my usual desk, so I can't
Okay.
look it up.
That's all right. And I could, it's March. Hold on. I'm getting there. I'm almost,
Yeah, March
there's our
26th.
May. April
No, it's
20.
April 26th. Whew, it's
Okay.
been a long week.
April 26th is saying when was the last frost, this year? Make sure to note it. So typically,
Okay.
this calendar right here is saying for this year, apparently it fluctuates from one year to the next. But this year it's saying April 22nd. It's the
Mm-hmm.
average last frost date. That's no
Right.
guarantee right there. But this is something, if we have to plan ahead for our seeds, for plants and stuff like that right there, it's
Yeah.
good to know information like this. And this calendar has this information.
Mm-hmm. And I
Yep.
just pulled up the 10-day forecast I'm in Lenore City, and it looks like next Sunday it's predicted to go down to 40, which is temperatures that can really set back peppers, and peppers major significantly and tomatoes a little bit. So if you have your peppers planted out, I would suggest covering them, for then, and hopefully it won't get much colder.
Right. And for how many, well, you can't tell how many hours that is until we are up closer.
Right, yeah. So you really can't tell, and the forecast can change between now and then.
Oh
Some
my
years,
gosh, yes.
yeah, some years we have, really warm weather and then an unexpected frost come in
Right.
later. It's not real common, hence the percentage chance.
Right.
You just never know for sure until, what is it, until like mid-May.
Right.
You're I've never had a frost after May 9th, but I have had a frost on May 9th at my
Something I've
house.
been something I've been talking to folks about here lately,
Hmm.
with this wild and crazy weather
Yeah.
and stuff, and putting plants out and have take back in and all this other stuff right there
Yep.
is, and you have talked about this before, and that's keeping a garden journal.
Yes.
It can be as fancy or as simple as you want, but if you can jot down notes and say, okay, I'm looking at my notes, and this past year we had a frost here at the house,
Hmm.
on such and such date, and that was kind of
Yeah.
late. Yeah.
Yep. And I do this journal where I put in, what I've done through the week. It's not just gardening, but I'll put, like this is the day I set out my tomatoes, and then I'll have like a whole page that's devoted to what I'm doing in the garden in more
Right.
detail. But I do keep a log of the daily weather, and that
Right.
helps me stay on top of it. And what is it? As a
Uh,
gardener, if I stay on top of the weather, I have a better idea of what's going to happen.
right.
Yep. Is there anything folks can do for their lawns right now?
Um, we are in a transition. It's getting too warm to do any serious maintenance
Hmm.
on cool season plant grasses. Um, Let me grab the calendar right here.
Okay,
Uh,
cool.
it's right here on the table. Um, Here's the lawn maintenance calendar right here. I have both of these calendars here at the restore today. Um,
Okay, so if you want to get one, go see Brian.
right,
They also have them at the Bloom Center.
right. They should. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Where am I? May. Okay. I just skipped.
And
Okay. April. Let's just go ahead and, okay, all grass types. Crabgrass typically terminates during the early to mid-April.
mhm.
So we they're saying for this month right here, which is really
Uh-huh.
sooner. You really should be putting down if you already have these weeds right there, use a post-emergent herbicide in there.
Right.
If you have a calendar like this right here,
Mm-hmm.
it will tell you ahead of time when to put down a pre-emergent herbicide.
Mm.
Okay, mowing
Uh-huh.
according to the one third rule. Each type of grass has its own optimum growing height right there. And if we
Mm-hmm.
keep it cut at that height, we have healthier turf grass. Um, let's see. But right now, especially with this rainy weather, continuously for days and the higher humidity, um,
Mm-hmm.
um, we need to keep an eye on potential fungal problems, especially if you use nitrogen fertilizer, which should be okay, but we don't want
Mm-hmm.
to overdo it. I think a lot of turf grass problems coming from use or over loving our lawns, trying too
Mm-hmm.
hard to take
Right.
care of them, and you wind up actually hurting them more than helping them.
Oh, that's
The
not
more
good.
right, the mower height is really important. Um, you got your warm season grasses could be greening up already. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see, all okay for this coming month right here. All grass types is saying make sequential applications of pre-emergent herbicide. Would be for the summer weeds. Should be applied 6 to 8 weeks after the first treatment of the year. Well, according to the one-third rule, irrigate only when signs of drought stress are present, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
hard thing for a lot of people. People want to set their
Yes.
timer or whatever and do it on the same time every week
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, and plants do not grow that way.
Right.
Even we don't grow that way. Um, we we grow and the grasses and your plants,
Right.
in ground plants, potted plants, stuff like these all grow on their own schedule. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and they all have their own individual needs.
Right.
We suggest um, grouping all these different plants together with like
Mm-hmm.
needs. And that
Yeah.
way, instead of bouncing around chasing all these different ones at different times of the
Mm-hmm.
day or of the week, if you group them together, you could do one this time,
Mm-hmm.
another one the next day or whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh,
Or you can decide like with your lawn to just have a diverse lawn and it'll be green most of the time.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But
people, yeah,
everyone can
that,
make their own decisions on that.
right. Uh,
Brian, explain to folks what the one-third rule is.
I'm sorry.
Explain to folks what the one-third rule is.
Okay, one-third rule is mowing down. Let's say, okay, y'all went on a couple. Y'all went to Washington State for a month,
Mm-hmm.
and you come back home, and we've had all this gorgeous weather with good, decent rains and sunshine and everything else. So your grass is growing like crazy. Um, and what is
Mm-hmm.
suggested is to cut one-third at a time.
Okay.
Okay, I would say let's say your lawn is a foot and a half. Okay, so we cut it down one-third, um, and then we leave it alone,
Mm-hmm.
and then we come back maybe I want to say at the minimum 3 days later, come back and cut another third, and then the
Okay.
final third is another several days later right there. The reason being, and many people will remember this right there. If we cut our grass too short, too quickly, uh, in
Mm-hmm.
opposition of this one-third rule right there, you'll see light green or almost white leaf stalks,
Huh.
and
Mm-hmm.
these can be sunburned. So
Oh.
you are injuring your turf grass by cutting down too much and having these light green white um, grass blades.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. Well, you know what? I went
Yep.
the opposite direction and came to Washington, and my grass is super long here. You know, we have 5 acres, and I have about, I don't know, I think we calculated about 2.5 acres of grass, turf
Oh
grass.
gosh, that's
Okay,
a
you
lot
So,
of
need to put
grass.
you need to put a decorative sign saying this this is ornamental grasses. We grow for nature. Then you're
yeah,
off the hook.
yeah. We
That's
got out there.
funny.
I had to get out there on the rider and start taking care of stuff. But
Someone gave us a whole bunch of hearts, and I don't know who.
Yeah. I would say one thing, say in your case right here, okay, I cannot do this. This 1/3 rule out here. Um, I would say your next best chance is mowing on a cloudy day or in the late afternoon when the
yeah,
sun is going down. And that way you reduce, you don't eliminate, but you reduce
Mm-hmm.
the chance of sun call.
yeah. And even if you're looking for some cloudy days in the next few days,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that shouldn't be too
Yeah.
hard around here. Although it's starting to get to this
Mm-hmm.
season where it's sunny a lot. But
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't mow the whole. I wasn't able to mow the whole, but I mowed the front and it's looking pretty good. So,
Oh,
Good.
good.
you know, the other thing I was maintaining back in Knoxville before I left was our an ornamental grass, our big pampas grass, you know,
Mm-hmm.
fountain grasses. And we hadn't cut them back yet. So I went in and cut them. And I didn't have our electric shearer I had.
Oh
So I was like
Oh.
doing it
no.
with this. So it was,
Oh,
and
that's
there's weeds.
hard.
And I was trying to save because some of the
Had
green
started to come.
shoots were coming up, and I wanted to kind of save them. And my husband was like, "Don't worry about it; they'll come right back." And so I cut it all about a foot. You know, I didn't want to cut it,
Mm-hmm.
real short.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And guess what? Like within the next day, I had 4 or 5 inches of green shoots coming through.
Yep.
So you don't, if you're one of those people who hasn't gotten to that chore yet, don't worry about cutting. I mean, if you wait till the end of the summer, then that's going to be a problem, or midsummer. But right now, if you cut it
Mm-hmm.
short, if you haven't cut back your ornamental grasses, the green will love it. It will regenerate the plant, and the plant will get moving again. And then I made sure I watered and mulched around
Yeah.
those grasses. I mean,
Yeah.
they're pretty drought
Mm-hmm.
tolerant, but
Now those
Right.
are pampas grass, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody that's contemplating either they have it, they acquire it, or they buy it right there, please be careful. The
Mm-hmm.
pampas grass is razor sharp,
Yes.
Yes.
and
Wear
you will
gloves.
cut
Yeah.
yourself badly if you grab and pull on it
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
resists. Um,
And the plumes, once they dry, are very flammable.
Yeah. They don't
Yep.
compost really. They don't really. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I had cuts on
Yep.
my legs
Oh,
because
I bet.
I was getting in between everything. I had my gloves on,
Yeah.
I had long sleeves, but then I
Mm-hmm.
was
good,
wearing
good, good.
shorts. So I
Yeah.
had cuts on my, little few cuts on my
Mm-hmm.
legs, but
Did
And
yeah.
the
you? Did,
same goes for maidenhair grass. It has those sawtoothed leaves also.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Now's
was
a
going to
good
bring up
time. I
some,
mean,
I
I
was going to
didn't
change the subject a little bit.
okay.
Um, okay. So we're at the end of Master Gardener training, and Dr. Lockwood came and talked to us about fruits. And he mentioned
yeah.
Ooh.
something I didn't know anything about. Um, but I've been noticing this spring we've gotten a lot of questions about strawberries doing really badly. And what he mentioned was there is a new disease of strawberries, and they call it NEOP, and I've got the link for it. So, and I'm going to post it in the group. And so that's a thing about it. But it's been accidentally spread by growers, growing new plants.
Oh,
Yeah,
in
and
a
so a lot
commercial
of
setting.
folks in commercial settings, and it's an accidental thing. They did not do it intentionally, for sure.
Right.
But a lot of folks who've bought strawberries recently, they get spotted leaves and they decline and die, before they get established. And that's some of the symptoms of this. And so I've just put up a fact sheet about it. And so if you failed with strawberries in the past year or so, it's very likely nothing to do with what you did. And it's
Right.
fairly likely, I mean, they're saying like um, 90% of commercial growers have been impacted by it.
Oh,
Owie.
so is
Yeah.
it not a good idea to buy strawberry plants this year?
I think they give you some tips on selecting good plants,
Okay.
in the publications that we put up. And we're late to plant strawberries at this point.
Okay.
But if you have, and they didn't do well, read through these resources and see if there's, if it looks like what's going on with your
Mm-hmm.
plants, and try again in a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
It's not something I've
strawberries
thoroughly
also,
studied.
oh,
Hmm?
go ahead.
Yeah, it's not something I've thoroughly studied, but it does sound like a fairly nasty disease
Hmm.
that you don't
Now,
want to.
does it, uh, uh, does it, I want to say, do you have a problem with the soil or just the leaves themselves? So if you just
I
pull them
haven't
up,
studied it enough to know that.
okay,
Hmm.
Yeah, I just remembered it this morning and realized it's something we should mention and we should research more on it so we
right,
can give people better information.
right.
But just to know, it's not that you're a bad gardener. And that is sometimes what happens. It's not something you've done that caused the problem. It's
Yeah.
just sometimes the weather isn't conducive to what you've planted, and we can't really control the weather. Sometimes you do end up getting a diseased plant accidentally, or a plant with a genetic problem, and you don't know it until you've got it, particularly things that are grown from seed. I mean, I've grown a lot of my plants from seed, and I've had years where I had one plant that, for unknown reason, didn't produce a single fruit, and the plants next to it did.
Owie.
Yeah, or a plant just dies. Um, and as a vegetable grower and someone who starts from their own seed, not it's not a big shock. It just happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah, I
something,
think, go ahead.
uh, again, something I would want to reiterate, and that's why we're
Hmm.
here.
Right.
We are not professional
Yeah.
people. We are gardeners, just like everybody else
Hmm.
here in this discussion. We make mistakes and stuff like
Yes.
that, but we have gotten I want to say, inside story
Hmm.
from research-based information from the experts, and we, as master gardeners, love sharing this with people, and we
Yes.
want to reach out to people, and that's what this Facebook group is all about, is helping to educate people, but to encourage
Hmm.
one another.
Yeah.
Right. And
I,
to
I,
help you have a good gardening experience.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
people say, I don't have a green thumb. Like
Hmm.
it's death
It's something
sentence.
you're
I'm never
born
going to
with.
be, it's a foregone conclusion. It's a talent that I won't
Hmm.
have. Gardening is not like singing.
Right.
Like singing, yeah, your voice is your voice. And yes, you can train it to be better, but some people are not born with a singing voice. But
Hmm.
anybody can learn to have a green thumb. It just
Yeah.
takes study. And most of us, most of us were not born lucky and we didn't come out of the womb with a green thumb. We learned
Hmm.
from trial and error. And then we started studying and listening and
Yeah.
asking. And so when people say I don't have a green thumb, it's like, well, you can learn to have a green thumb. It's not like singing. You're not born with one on
It's more
the
like
eye.
I don't have green hair,
Yeah. Which you could
and you
have
can get
green.
green hair if you want it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's easy to say I don't have a green
Hmm.
thumb, try gardening once or twice and say, no,
Yeah.
I can't do it. But
Hmm.
you absolutely can. And
Yeah.
I always recommend to people to start small,
Mhm.
and there's so many different
Right.
focuses. It doesn't have to be vegetables. It could be
Hmm.
flowers. It could be trees. It could be
Yeah.
fruit production. It could be anything, and just
Mhm.
start with something small. It could be house plants.
Right.
You
And
know,
sometimes
Margot
you
is
don't have a
really getting
good
into orchids lately.
situation. Yeah.
What?
I,
Sometimes you don't have a good situation for something.
uh,
Um, and what is it? I learned a lot when I moved from one house to the other. I thought I
Hmm.
was an excellent African violet grower. And I had a collection of African violets and they did beautifully. And I had this window that I put them in that they loved. And
Hmm.
then I moved to a different house and I put them in all different windows and I never did find a place where
Yeah.
they liked. And over the course of a couple of years, they all died on me.
Yeah.
yeah,
And but in this new house, I could grow some plants that I couldn't in the old house.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't so much me doing something right or wrong, it was the environment was wrong
right.
for that particular plant. But I can grow other plants. You know,
Yeah.
what is it? If at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
sometimes when we moved into our
Hmm.
house in Knoxville or when I moved there, um, I would get like if I had a landscape area and I
Hmm.
thought, I want to plant several of this type of plant in this area,
Yeah.
I would buy one and test
Hmm.
it out and see if it
Hmm.
likes the area. I mean, first of all, I would research and make sure like it's
Yeah.
a pretty good chance this plant's going to survive here. But then just buy one and see
Hmm.
how it goes and test it out. And if it works,
Hmm.
great. Then you're going to plant more of them and you're not wasting money.
Yeah.
That's the
And
other thing.
Brenda, I'm glad you
Well,
can join us this morning. Yeah. She said she enjoys what she learns from us and the links that we share.
yeah, great.
So, yeah, we love having feedback. And if you have any questions this morning, we've only got about another 10 minutes, which isn't very much. Um, but if you do have any questions, be sure to put them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them. Um, I don't know, what am I seeing out here? The big thing I'm seeing this morning is a lot of bird activity.
Hmm.
The birds are very busy, probably chicks in the nest.
Uh,
Hmm.
insects are out.
Insects are starting to come out. Oh, that's one thing I was going to mention. Okay, so if you looked at the Sochan plant, and should I go back to it? Um, we've had a lot of reports and showing pictures of leaves with just little holes in it. And I would say the most likely thing to cause the holes is probably slugs and snails right now.
Hmm.
You know, the insects are starting to get going, but the slugs and snails really do like cool nights. A lot of dew on the ground in the morning, which when we have fog, a lot of times we have dew, and there have been a lot of mornings where they've been saying, drive carefully because of the fog.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
and that just helps the slugs and snails.
I've been
And so,
seeing
yeah,
wasps starting
yeah.
to build nests. There was one tiny
Hmm.
nest starting inside my mailbox.
Oh no.
That had to go. And then
Yes.
here in Washington, in the eaves of our house and in our shop, in our barn,
Yes.
they start going. We have these, I think they're called mud daubers, which are
Uh-huh.
beneficial. So we have to know the difference
Right.
between nests. And the
Hmm.
wasps are more, the mud daubers kind of do, I don't know if they're in Tennessee that
I don't know. There are some mud daubers in Tennessee. There are ones that like make little round nests that look like little pots.
here
Those are a kind of
they're
mud dauber.
sort of round, but they're kind of they can look like smooth stone. And
Oh,
then the
cool.
wasp nests are like, round and they have, you can see like
Hmm.
they're more hexagonal kind of. So
Okay.
we have to know the difference because the mud daubers are actually beneficial. So we actually don't want to take those nests down.
Right. Well, and even around here, like the paper wasps are beneficial. I've
Hmm.
actually seen them on broccoli, like pulling little caterpillars off
Mm,
and eating them.
yeah.
Seen the red paper wasps. But if you have them in a place where people are going a lot, you don't really want them. They don't tend to be aggressive. Oh, spotted lanternfly. Yes, we should mention that. Um, but let's finish about the wasps, and then I'll go to spotted lanternfly. So most wasps are beneficial. There are ground hornets that are European that are very aggressive, and I would definitely recommend getting those off. And then there are the hornets that make the big round nests in trees, and those can be really aggressive. And
Yellow
so,
jackets. Oof.
yeah, yellow jackets. The problem with the name yellow jacket is that's applied to a lot of different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but and if you're allergic, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
And so I try to leave the paper wasps where if they put a nest where I can leave them safely, because I do know they benefit the environment. Okay, spotted lanternfly. The spotted lanternfly is a new pest to Tennessee. Um, it's been in the Northeast for a few years, came to the U.S. in 2014, I believe, or it might be more
Pennsylvania.
recent. In Pennsylvania, they've been fighting them aggressively. They feed on more than 100 agricultural and ornamental crops, and so they are a nasty pest. Um, so they're not very specific. Like some pests are very specific. Spotted lanternfly are not. Um, if you see them, report them to the it's Protect Tennessee Forest is the website, and I believe it's linked on what Toby just posted. And they start off as little like globby egg cases and hatch out into black and white spotted larvae. And so they say they hatch out in the spring, so that would be, they'd be pretty small now. And their adult form, raise it up a little bit. Their adult form almost looks like a butterfly or a moth, but it actually is a fly, and they don't fly very well. If you see them, take a picture of them and then destroy them, smash them. It is not a pest we want to get a foothold in Tennessee. And so we're at a place where we can still, keep them under control. As far as I know, they have not been spotted in East Tennessee, but they have been spotted in Middle Tennessee. So, keep your eyes open for them. I know in Kansas, they didn't think they had them, and then one ended up in a kid's insect collection that he did for school.
Oh,
And so that was how they were found in Kansas, and he did not find it outside of the state. He found it in the state. So with the interstate, situation, what it is and where Knoxville is, we have a lot of trucks coming through, and what I understand is they can lay their egg cases in the wheel wells and underneath trucks. And so that's one of the main ways they've been transported. And I think Brenda had a question here. Let me see. Okay, she's about to tackle her flower bed. Um, let's see. She has a groundhog in her garden. The poo she's finding looks like raccoon or groundhog. Groundhog will do more damage to your garden than raccoon, but raccoons like ripe fruit, like tomatoes and things like that. Okay, she's got 14 strawberry plants in her garden, and she wants to put them in her garden. Go look at those references and see if you're seeing that kind of damage on the leaves. And if you're not, I think you're good to go ahead and plant them. Let's see. Starting kind of small with flowers. I mean, I tend to start small in the spring because you never know, are we going to have a really cold spring or a warm spring? So I hedge my bets by keeping things in where I can bring them in, focusing on spring for beautiful color and some fall flowers for now. That sounds like a really good plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because spring and fall seem to be our main time. I do throw out some zinnias for the summer, you know, because they're real reliable as far as bloom through the summer. I know they're not native, and they're annuals, but they're easy.
Yeah.
And so I do zinnias and marigolds through the summer. And I think that is it. And what is it? It's time for us to be done.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. And have a great day and happy gardening, everyone. And let me find the right button. And something else is covering the button I need to see. Okay. Bye, y'all. Have a great week. See you next week.